Hello and yes, welcome back to another video, guys. That's right, today we are back to talk about all of the films that I watched for the first time in the month of October 2022. My God, we've ploughed through this year. I can't believe that we're already in November. And Christmas is... it's not far away. So yeah, today, these are just films I watched for the first time. In case you haven't seen one of these videos before from me, I do a lot of rewatches, but these are just first time watches for me, and it's just movies, not TV shows included. So yeah, we've got quite a few to go over. Now, it's kind of not as many as I have done in the past. That's because I had a holiday this month, so there was a whole week where I wasn't watching movies. But nevertheless, I still got a good 20 to 30 films in here to talk about. So let's get started. I'm going to shift over here so that I can bring up the lovely movie posters as we talk about each of these movies. So starting off, I cracked into my Universal Monsters Werewolf box set, and I'd already seen the original Wolfman film, so we started off with Werewolf of London, which was actually the first film they done of his, not Wolfman, which was surprising to me. And I thought this was pretty cool. I enjoyed this one a lot. I don't have loads to say about these Universal Monster films, and for those of you who've been reading my letterbox reviews of them have probably noticed that. You know, they all kind of do feel very similar. There's a few standouts and there's a few weaker ones, but this is very much one of those kind of formulatic films in those series of movies. You know, I know people say that these superhero films will feel the same. It's like, they're coming out today. It's like, this has always been a thing, guys, because to me, a lot of these Universal Monster films, I enjoy it, most of them, but a lot of them feel the same as well. It's just, you know, this is a thing that's always going to happen in film. And this is a prime example, going all the way back to the 30s. So, but yeah, no, this was a good film. I enjoyed it. I liked the build-up to get to Wolfman. When he come into it, it was fun. I liked the transition scenes. You know, very cool. Some of the best. Obviously not as good as American Werewolf in London. But, you know, still very, very cool. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of Wolfman himself, and I think that's a criticism I have of a lot of the films that he's in. But yeah, you know, it was a good film. Good first appearance. I'm going to give this film a 6.5 out of 10. Then we have Blowout, which is one of the few Criterions in my collection I just had yet to get around to watching, starring Mr. John Travolta. And what a cracking movie, to be honest. I really enjoyed this. One of the better John Travolta films I've seen. I definitely put it up there with the likes of Pulp Fiction and Grease. You know, I'm a Grease fan. I love that movie. So yeah, this was a really, really fun film, and there was so many cool aspects about it. I liked the dynamic of the plot and where it went. The final 10 minutes, the showdown, I kind of clocked who the bad guy was in this film. So that wasn't as much of a surprise to me, but it was still really entertaining, and I really loved what they done with it. And there was a lot of cool twists and turns throughout the movie still. But yeah, I did really enjoy this film. I'm gonna give this film a 7.5 out of 10. Then we have the Outlaw Josie Wales. So that's right, I continued on my Clint Eastwood watching, and you know, Clint is someone who I've become such a huge fan of. Obviously I bought that big box set of his, and I'm making my way through it, and I'm watching every single movie he's been in. And I know about the Man with No Name trilogy, and then a few of his other really popular films. But I hadn't heard of this film, and I love it when I put one of those random Clint films on, like, oh, okay, this is the next one up, let's give it a go. And it shocks me at how good it is, because wow, I think this is my favourite film of his after the Man with No Name trilogy. This film was so good. Seeing his character is just a total badass again in this. He looks cool, you know, and everything he does is amazing. But I love the dynamic he has with characters through this. Like, you've got that young guy who sort of idolizes him at the start of the movie, and I love their relationship and where that kind of goes and how it progresses. The actual showdown at the end of the movie was so incredible and so badass to watch. And in this film, like, the soundtrack as well, it had this haunting soundtrack as well, which I loved. And yeah, this is definitely one of the, not just best Clint films, but one of the best westerns I've seen. I actually loved this movie. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Next up, we have Taste the Blood of Dracula. So another Christopher Lee Dracula film. I got one watched. I think that was the only Christopher Lee Dracula film I got watched this month. So yeah, while I'm doing all these Universal Monster films, I'm also doing the Christopher Lee Dracula films, because I love Christopher Lee so much. He's honestly my top 5 actors ever. And I sort of realised recently, I haven't seen his Dracula films, which are considered to be some of his best. So obviously working my way through them. Taste the Blood was one of my favourites, actually, but I much preferred the first half of this movie to the second half, and I really liked actually seeing the resurrection of Dracula. I thought that was very cool, very well done. But then, I don't know, it's one of these things. Christopher Lee is so good in the role. Every time he's on screen, it's great, but it's always the build-up to get to Dracula I tend to enjoy more than when he's actually present in the movie, which is weird because I love Christopher Lee. He's the best thing about his movies. But the build-up for me is always handled so much better in these films, and I don't know what it is about them. But yeah, so again, I like most of these Christopher Lee Dracula films. I much prefer the first half to the second half. And it still saddens me to say this, because I am enjoying them. They're good movies, but they're not blowing me away like I hoped and thought they would. But nevertheless, still enjoyed myself with this. 6.5 out of 10. Then we have Werewolf by Night, the new Marvel special film. It is technically a movie because it's over 40 minutes. And I have reviewed this one in depth, so I'll be very quick on it. But this is, so far, of course, Wakanda Forever's out next week. So far, it's been the best Marvel film this year. I much preferred this to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Thor Love and Thunder. This was a lot better than both of them, which is crazy because the director, who normally, he's a composer, I forget his name off the top of my head, but it's his directorial debut, and he was so good in it. I didn't know any of the actors in it, and they all blew me away. The visual effects on this one were incredible. I love the black and white aspect. It made it feel like a Universal Studios movie. Universal Monsters, movie. And yeah, just the actual effects, whenever like Man-Thing was on screen, I know there was a lot of practical effects for him as well as CGI, but everything just looks incredible. It looked flawless. I think maybe it could have done with an extra 5 to 10 minutes, but really I don't have many complaints with this one. I honestly thought this was really solid. One of the better MCU things we've had in Phase 4. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Rosalind. I think, is that Rosalind? Yeah. So, yeah. I know what you're all thinking if you haven't seen this movie. You're thinking exactly what I was thinking. This looks shit. It sounds terrible. The concept, no. The trailers weren't very good. I had a really good time with it. It was so self-aware of what it was, and and I'm not a Romeo and Juliet fan. I'm not a Shakespearean fan, to be honest. It all goes a bit over my head. And so the fact that it just took that incredibly famous story of Romeo and Juliet, which even people like me who don't like it know what it is and know enough about the story to get a grasp of what's going on. It took that and just took the piss out of it. And the film was so self-aware, it didn't take itself seriously at all. I loved that. There was a couple moments where I genuinely burst out loud laughing. Like, there's a bit at the end where Juliet explains her plan to Rosalind. She's like, oh yeah, I'm going to fake my death and then I'll wake up and it'll all be fine. And Rosalind's like, that's the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard. And I was genuinely laughing out loud a few times. And for that, I like the first 10 minutes, I was like, yeah, this is what I thought it'd be. And then I've sort of begun to get into the movie and realised this is self-aware. It knows what it's doing and it's having a good time. And I had a good time with it. I genuinely did. It really surprised me how much I liked it. All of the actors done a great job. That Kate, I think her name's Caitlin Dever. She's so good. Such a good actress, as is that Isabel... oh god, I can't remember her surname. Isabella I can't remember her surname. But yeah, absolutely fantastic in it. And yeah, what the hell, 7.5 out of 10. Okay, Hellraiser 2022. I watched the new one. I've seen some very divided opinions on this. I'm new to the Hellraiser franchise, so here's my little pick at the movie. I thought the first half was kind of boring and I really wasn't getting into it, but then the back half went full mental with it and I kind of loved it. Like, it's a film of two halves again. The first half I was just like, yeah, this is kind of what I expected. I mean, it could be worse. It could be Halloween Ends, which we'll get to. It could be better though. It could be better. But then the back half just really run with the whole wacky concept, the whole wacky side of Hellraiser. And I really enjoyed that because that's kind of what I go to these Hellraiser films for now, like a bit like Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff. They don't come across super scary to me, but I like having fun with these monsters and creepy messed up characters. So yeah, I actually thought, you know, this was quite a good time overall. I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. Okay, where are we at? Then we have Frankenstein meets Wolfman. So yeah, this film here again, don't really have loads to say about this one. There was just again, a lot of the interactions between these two characters, there really wasn't much going on, and I feel like, you know, again, Wolfman was barely in the movie. A lot of side characters didn't really care about. Yeah, honestly, I just really don't have loads to say about this one. I'll give it a 6 out of 10, I guess. It was okay. Then we have, where are we at now? Catherine called Birdie. So I watched this film because it stars the young actress whose name's escaping me at the minute, who is, of course, going to be starring in the upcoming Last of Us HBO show, which I'm incredibly excited for. She's going to be playing Ellie. She was in Game of Thrones and His Dark Material Season 2, so I have seen her before, but I wanted to watch this just to see how she does starring. And she was really good in it, to be fair. The movie itself was pretty fun. I liked a lot of I liked her character a lot, and I liked her father, who was played by the guy who played Moriarty in the Sherlock series. Billie Piper was in it playing her mum. Was also quite good in the movie. Don't really see her about nowadays much. Yeah, I thought the film was fine. Don't really have a load to say about this one again. But yeah, it was a fine little Amazon Prime movie if you've got an hour and a half where you want to watch something like this. You know, the set pieces and the costumes were great. So there's still a lot of good in this film still. 6.5. Then we have Halloween Ends, which I've reviewed in detail here on the channel, and my opinion hasn't changed. I'm sorry to Halloween fans who like this movie, because I defended Kills. I like the Halloween franchise a lot, but Ends was terrible. The story made no sense. Michael Myers is barely in the film, and that is a negative. The characters don't make normal decisions or realistic ones. They don't feel real. The characters just feel alien. They feel like they've been written by a child. The kills weren't fun or interesting. They were boring to watch. The film itself is also really poorly made. Like, the editing is terrible. The score is generic as hell. The lighting, my god, is unbelievably bad. And then the ending just isn't satisfying. This film fucking sucks, and it's such a shame. It's such a terrible film. I'll give it a 1.5 out of 10. It's honestly one of the worst films I've ever seen, period. It's potentially the worst Halloween film. Yeah. Anyway, then we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I watched the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It popped up on Amazon Prime when I was searching for a film. And I was like, oh my god, that's on here. I'm going to watch that because I've never seen it. And I'd been warned by some people that they didn't think I'd like it. They thought it might be a bit too messed up for me. But do you know what? I really actually did enjoy this film. My negatives with it would be that a lot of the characters die way too quick and you're left with one character. And it's like, well, you know that this character's going to stick about for a while, or else then you got no movie. That would be my gripe with it. But other than that, I thought it was just Leatherface, but there's a few other messed up people in this, and I really enjoyed that. And Leatherface, man, something about just not seeing who's under that mask, and every time that door would open that he was behind, and he come out, you would just, even like for a film this old with this lower budget, even I was like, oh my god, I'd be terrified. So I actually quite enjoyed this movie, have a lot of respect for it. It was a lot of fun, as messed up as it was. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Then we have The Purge, Anarchy. So I saw the first Purge film a while back, and I thought it was just okay. And I've always been meaning to watch this and the others. And this one, and there's another one. I forget what it's called. Election Year. Yeah, we will talk about that one. Both on Amazon Prime. And I was at work, and I was like, do you know what? These would be good background films. So I stuck them on and watched them. So Anarchy is terrible. I kind of like the concept of it. We were with a rich family in the first one. Now we've gone to a really poor family. But instead of making it like a really cool horror, they just have like, here comes your badass Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Dwayne Johnson kind of, you know, big muscle guy. He's got the guns, he's got everything you need, and he's a badass. And then all the other characters are just constantly quipping jokes, and no one sort of dies until the last 10 minutes. And there's a horrible filter over the whole movie. It's so predictable where it's going. And like the people who are actually purging don't feel real. It's like you don't feel like real people, and that's where the horror element and the interesting element goes, because then they just do feel like boring movie characters. It's like you don't feel real. You just feel like, yeah, okay, they need a gun here to shoot you, so I'm the guy in the scary mask who's gonna shoot you. Yeah, I was incredibly bored throughout this movie. I thought it was really bad. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Then we have Beast, the new Idris Elba film. I missed it at the cinema during its first couple of weeks, during the first couple of weeks of hype. So, yeah, I didn't really hear anyone talking about it, so I went into it completely blind, to be honest. And I noticed it didn't really have a good score on Letterboxd after I'd seen it, which surprised me because I had a really good time with this film. I thought it was actually very entertaining. Just seeing this one big lion go on a massive mad rampage. And it was creepy. It was creepy. I liked it and it felt really good. I liked the core characters that you meet. You know, you got the dad and his 2 girls and one of his old friends of the family. And just so good. I really liked the guy who was like the friend of the family. He was in like all of those Neil Blomkamp movies and really good actor. And yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff in this. It was kind of predictable at the end, and I must admit the bit where Idris is more or less fighting the lion, it was a bit over the top. But up till that point, it was really good, really entertaining movie, and it was surprised me. I thought it was enjoyable enough. I don't know if I'll rewatch it, but it was good. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Then we have Smile. My friends dragged me to see this film. God, I didn't even know it was a paranormal film, and I don't do well with paranormal stuff, as people know. You know, like The Conjuring and stuff scare the shit out of me. And needless to say, this one scared the living hell out of me. And I'm going to be honest, my friends definitely enjoyed this one a bit more than me. I think it was fine for what it was. It had good jump scares in it. And I thought the ending was fine, because I saw some people very upset about the ending. But yeah, you know, I just thought there's not really many characters in this besides the main one that I care about. I thought the plot was kind of generic, really, and the film did rely on jump scares a lot of the time. And it didn't use them as cleverly as like the first 2 Conjuring films did, for example. But it was decent. It was fine. I just wouldn't go raving about this one. I don't think I'll watch it again. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Where are we at? Then we have House of Frankenstein, which was a very cool movie. This was actually one of the Universal Monster films I really enjoyed. However, it's a bit funny that like half these characters don't meet. Like I can't remember which one it is. I think it's Dracula is at the start of this movie, and then he sort of dies halfway through, and then it's like Frankenstein and the Wolfman. So yeah, it was good, but it didn't feel like a big crossover movie, and they needed to come up with like a cool name for these crossover ones, because like House of Frankenstein, but you've also got Dracula and the Wolfman. So yeah, they should have just called it like the Monsters movie. I know it sounds a bit like the Monsters, but I don't think the Monsters weren't a thing yet anyway, so that wouldn't have mattered. But yeah, I did actually have quite a good time with this one. It was a cool little crossover one, a lot of fun, and the ending was very cool. With the big dam and stuff, or not dam, but the big water bit. So yeah, I'm going to give this film 7 out of 10. Then we have Black Adam, which I've also reviewed here on the channel, and really just don't have a lot to say about this one. It was fine. It's a fine action superhero film. If you're going there for a great plot or really good characters, you're just not going to get it. It is a generic plot, and it is filled with generic characters. But, you know, at the end of the day, and I got criticised in the comments for this for some reason, but if you do switch your brain off a bit, it's fine, because that's what this film is. It's a big blockbuster switch your brain off movie. It's just, you know, it's a bit of fun. That's all it is. It's, yeah, it doesn't really do anything wrong. It doesn't really do anything right. It just depends if you can switch off and have fun with it, which is kind of what I expect from most Dwayne The Rock Johnson films. The end credit scene was awesome, though. 6.5 out of 10. House of Dracula. I was so eager to get on this because I enjoyed House of Frankenstein so much. This picks up straight after House of Frankenstein. And yeah, this was a real letdown. Dracula's pretty cool in it, I guess. But then it sort of picks up after the last one, and it doesn't really feel like there's a huge urge to get back to some of these characters. It feels very slow-paced. And yeah, I don't know, I just really didn't connect with this one as much. Again, characters didn't really seem like they had as much to do. Wolfman was barely in this one. It didn't feel like there was as much of a threat. yeah, I give it 6 out of 10. I apologise, these all get a bit blurred in my mind, all of these. There's so many. I'm going to be doing the Mummy box set this month, hopefully, so. Then we have the Banshees of the Inisherin. They say it in the movie, but I still can't pronounce the bloody word. This film, you know, I love this guy's other film, the Three Billboards, and I've got his first film now, thanks to my good friend Alex Pitt, which I'll be watching this month. This guy's incredible, man. This film was so good. The premise of it, so simple, but Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, just absolutely killing it in this film. Both of them, so good. And the one who plays Colin Farrell, the actress who plays Colin Farrell's sister, also incredible. And what's his name? Keegan something. Keegan, the guy who's playing the Joker in the Matt Reeves Batman films. So good. He's such a good actor. Also, fantastic in this movie. This film was so incredible. Everything down to the script and the cinematography, the score, the music. Oh my god, it was so good. And in the actual ending of the film, I loved it. And I actually laughed out loud a few times as well. And there was a point in the movie where you think you know what sort of film you're watching. And then there's a... To those who have seen it, that's all I'm going to do. There's a snippy bit, and you're like, oh my god, this film is going in a completely another direction. And I loved it. I thought it was so well done. I really loved this movie. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Then we have Pearl. I was so excited to see this movie. I really liked Tex. Pearl was a huge disappointment to me. Huge. It was laughable at times. Like... There was no horror elements to it. Now, I'll say this. The colour palette of it, beautiful. And the cinematography, great. The lead actress, done a fantastic job. And the script itself was actually kind of decent. But I kind of laughed out loud a few times. There's a bit where someone gets, like, she's being chased by someone. And she gets an axe in the back. She keeps running like nothing's happening. She gets another hit on the back by an axe. And she still keeps running like nothing's happening. It's like... And it happens like 3 times, like, you've been hit by an axe, you should be down on the ground in pain, what the hell is happening? And it just felt like nothing was happening. You're watching this character descend into chaos, yeah? You're watching her fall apart. But for what reasons? There was only like a couple reasons given. It just didn't feel like it was warranted enough. And I don't know, I just really didn't get into this movie as much as I wanted to. Saying that, I don't think it was bad. I was just thoroughly disappointed. I was expecting a really good movie, and what I got was just an okay one. So yeah, I'm going to give this film a 6 out of 10. I was expecting to give it like an 8, but here we are. Werewolf of London next. Okay, this is the worst Universal Monsters film I've seen. You don't even see her turn into a wolf. There is no tension. I don't even think there's a kill in this. Yeah, terrible movie. Such a shame. 3.5 out of 10. Short and sweet. For some reason, in my stupidity, I've decided to watch every single Marvel film out there, and I've gone back to watch the Captain America films. So I've started with Captain America 1979. Really bad. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even become Captain America till like 2/3 of the way through. He doesn't even get the suit till like the last 10 minutes. There's no proper action till the last 10 minutes. There's no real villain to this movie. His shield is made of plastic. His suit looks ridiculous. The acting is terrible and the dialogue is humiliatingly bad. I wasn't really expecting much more from this, but I was hoping it'd be a little bit more fun, a little bit more campy, but you couldn't even get that from it. So yeah, 1.5 out of 10. Purge election year. Oh god, I'm sorry. These fucking Purge films, man. Yeah, I mean, look, I just want to pitch something. I haven't seen The Purge 4 or 5 because I know there's another 2, and there's a TV show. I just want to pitch something. So this might already exist in those 2 movies or the TV show. Imagine like seeing The Purge in like the countryside in a farm or something. There's a family in the farm, and there's like a group that come to the farm, and then they try to hunt them on the farm or something like that. How cool would that be? Here, it's like, we gotta go big. It's about the President of the United States of America. And if our heroes win, the Purge will end forever. If they lose, the Purge will go on forever. It's like, who the fuck off, man. This is so stupid. So stupid. And then they tried to tie it in with these other kind of normal people. They get involved and stuff. And it's like, we got this returning big hero. And oh my god, it's so fucking bad. Like, like the Purge is such a cool concept and they could do so much with it, but it's so bad. Like, it's so bad. It's like it's written by children. Yeah, 3 out of 10. God damn it. The more I think about this film, the more I hate it. I think I preferred this one to Anarchy when I reviewed it on Letterboxd, but this one is just so stupid. It's unbelievable. And then the final film for October is Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, which was my favourite film in the Wolfman box set because this was the crossover I've been waiting for. You have Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein in this one. Abbott and Costello, who are basically America's Laurel and Hardy. They're quite funny. I do enjoy them. But all of the monsters do cross over in this one. It's really cool. And there's a lot of scenes with them, which was really fun. And you see them kind of fighting each other for the first time properly, which was really good fun. And that little tease at the end of the Invisible Man, I loved that. That was so cool. So, yeah, I'm going to give that a 7.5 out of 10. But we've got to do my film of the month. I've just thrown away my list of films, even though I think I know what film it's going to be. But I'm just going to quickly glance over my list again and tell you why it would be Purge election year. I'm just kidding. It's going to be Halloween Ends. Again, I'm just kidding. Where's my list gone? I apologise, I've lost it. Here it is. Here it is. Right, so my film of the month, what would I give it to? Because there have been some very good ones this month. I'm gonna have to go with my gut feeling though, and say the Banshees of the Inisherin. It was between that and the Outlaw Josie Wales. So yeah, that was also excellent. But yeah, I'm gonna give it to this film because it was just so good, so good. One of the best of the year without doubt. But anyway, there we go, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this video as always. Yes, I'll be back next week for some more videos. I'm not sure which ones yet. But anyway, thank you so much for watching as always. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a message. And as always, I'll see you next time for another video. Bye-bye.